We wait, and we smear. I don't do anything so I get that first live chat comment. So I'm waiting. Oh, okay, we got Rick Perry first live chat comment. Usually I got people in the comments like, Gene is late, but not today, apparently. Apparently I'm too late. Now nobody's awake. Unless you're not stateside, that is. Vortex. I remember you from a while ago. Vortex. You were that guy struggling or inquiring. Wonder how that's been going. Hope you've been taking your time on that. I usually wait for people to trickle in before we start the whole show. So we got Rick here. We've got Vortex. It says 12 people are watching. Awfully silent. Usually I've got some loud people. I've got a lot of comments. There's a few people that are almost always here. So we're gonna wait. Brother Barry. Barry your name, or do you like berries? Howdy, either way. There we go. Got people. Jeremy, get out of here, man. I don't deal with people who cheat on this channel with some dude named Jeremy. Oh, that's me. Well, good to see you, Randy. And PJ. Okay, we've got a little crowd. Tyler, what's happening, Slick? What is this? Like movie from the 40s? Like, what's up, Slick? What's happening? Orthodox Seeker. Cool dog. Thank you. Thank you for enjoying it and for the comment. Barry, my name, my last name. Okay. Hello, twin again. Randy found me from the Crucible, the Discord, or from the channel. Did you watch that debate with Adam Green? Jeff, your Christian name. I don't know what that's for. Jeff. No, it's not. All right, we're going to begin the topic du jour. Yeah, we're going to discuss... Actually, I'm mainly going to discuss Catholicism today, but there'll be some Orthodoxy in here too. Okay, Randy, good to have you, and I'm glad that the debate brought you to this little irrelevant corner of the internet. Getting stuff going now. Nice background. It looks like a rolled up carpet. Yeah, it's not. It's a couch. This isn't even my house. I'm in the study area. All right. He says, I've been going to church here in Colombia with my GF family, but don't know what to think. Also don't understand much of what the Padre is saying because this is Spanish. Well, I mean, if you're in Colombia, you might want to know Spanish. I don't know what to tell you. But yeah. I mean, what kind of church have you been going to? Vortex, Catholic, Orthodox? Some Pentecostal thing? I don't know how large the evangelical Pentecostal movement is in Colombia and Venezuela. I know it's large in Brazil and Chile and Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, but I don't and El Salvador. I don't know if it's big in Colombia. Okay, they're Catholic. Yeah, well, look, I would go to Orthodox churches where the liturgy is 100% Greek. Like there's like 10 words that are English. I don't know any Greek other than, theos, kyrios, hypostasis, stuff like that. I don't know how the language really works. I don't think you need to, really. I mean, other than when the guy is giving his speech, his sermon, the actual liturgical stuff, I don't think you need to understand every word that's spoken. So I think that's a non-problem. Okay. And then the last question is Giga Chad. Randy, are you covering from Sam's verbal assault on you over the Nestorian bishop? Yeah. That was the topic of the day for actually only one day. So today we're going to discuss the secularization of the church. I've gone through this before. We've done this topic. So there may be a couple repeated points. Now, some people might be wondering, what's up with the thumbnail? What is that? Is that supposed to be a depiction of hell or something? that Lucifer? What is it? Well, it's actually a photograph image of a depiction from John Milton's work, Paradise Lost. I selected that on purpose because that's what today's topic is about. How did secularism change what people actually thought was the religion they believe in? So if you actually read the New Testament and the Old Testament, in the Old Testament, Satan shows up a few times, most prominently in the book of Job. Everybody knows that. In the book of Job, he's kind of like a dark thorn in everybody's side. He is the ruler of the world, but he's not outside of the grip of God himself. And he tests Job. He inflicts evil, but there's a purpose to it. He's not just this like chaotic guy trying to do anarcho-capitalism like everybody thinks. There's a purpose to his evil. There's a reason he's doing the evil. In the New Testament, he does the same thing against Christ. And the demons, all the unclean spirits that possess people, they cry out against Christ as well. So the whole demonic world, demons plus Satan himself, are trying to dissuade people from believing in him and kind of neuter the faith before it begins. And so that's one of the big problems that you see. Now, again, though, that's in the New Testament and the Old. There's not a lot of information other than that. We're never told what Christ looks like, first of all, in the Bible itself. We're never told what any of the prophets really look like, other than, when Moses comes down from the mountain and he has that emblazoned skin. But that's not what he normally looks like. But we're not told what Satan looks like either. So we don't know if he is this like handsome young man or not. It just doesn't say. Now, Paul says that Satan can become an angel of light, can look like an angel of light, can appear as one. But we don't know if that's his eternal mode. Is he always like that, or only in some circumstances? So that's what's interesting. We don't really know what he looks like. We know what a lot of his purposes are. We know he's the ruler of this world. That's what it says in a variety of verses, both in the gospel and in the epistles. But that's kind of it. This idea, and then of course the book of Revelation talks about the exile of the celestial beings, them being the demons, of course, the rebellious angels, etc. That is mentioned, of course. But this idea that he's like this misunderstood guy who got exiled because he did free will, that's not found. That's not found in the New Testament. Sorry. It's not. There is no, he was actually he was doing free will and mean old God sent him down. That's not part of the New Testament. Okay? This idea that he's this anarchist is also not really part of it. Like, there seems to actually be a sequence to the evil that he's doing. And if you look at the church for most of history, before we get to the great secularization, they don't really talk about Satan that much in this great detail. He's not a romantic figure. He's not trying to politically change the world. He just happens to be the one whose influence is embedded in all the rulers. So he's more like a stain on the world. He's not like this guy. It's not Vladimir Lenin, who's just fomenting revolutions here and there, like the Rolling Stones song. It's rather that his influence as a whole has influenced mankind. But he's not like popping up in St. Petersburg. We don't have that kind of a concept. So that's, and I'm still speaking to the Latin side. So what happened during the secularization is people like Milton and others added things in, like this goes with Dante's Inferno as well, added things into the theology that weren't there. And now we have a misunderstood Bible, first of all. That's the title of my book, because I think the Bible's got very misunderstood. A misunderstood Bible and a misunderstood theology, a misunderstood church. So this idea that hell is just boiling water and stuff and like people burning all the time and that's it. It's not entirely. Like we have various theological beliefs that go above and beyond that. We have Sheol, Hades, which is the place of death. Okay, then you have Gehenna, which is the torment. There's a difference there. Most people aren't aware of that. Most people have no idea about the resurrection, even though it's recited in the creed all the time. Most people just think, well, I'm going to jump out of my body, I'm going to go be a ghost, and I'm going to be a ghost for 18 trillion years. What about the resurrection? Now, what do our bodies look like in the resurrection? Very vague. We don't know. Fine, that's a mystery. We don't have to know everything. But there is a resurrection. That's the thing that's the most important part of the eschaton. Not like yeah, material reality sucks. That's another thing. Like, material reality doesn't suck. What sucks is the way the world is. So when the New Testament says stuff like "don't be of the world," it doesn't mean tear your skin off and jump out of your body. It means don't listen to the influences that are against God in the world. That's what the writers are actually trying to teach. That's what Christ was saying. So that's what the teaching is. Not like, oh, material reality is bad, drinking water is bad, eating food is bad, loving your wife is bad. Those are all things that are good. No. Those things are all perfectly fine. All perfectly fine. And I can't really say it's the priests who are teaching bad stuff. It's rather that secular media teaches that. Because even you go to the most liberalized Novus Ordo church, you're not going to see people straight up getting on a pulpit and going, hey, everyone, let's learn about the Apostle Plotinus. Like, people, they don't go that far. It's not the actual church that secularized, as a matter of fact. It's the society did, and then the society looked at the religion, the church, in a way that it had not before. It was not taken as seriously, and people came to misunderstand it, right? So, like, the idea that Christians for most of history were just Bible thumpers who didn't know science. That's the exact opposite of what the Middle Age church was. It was scholastic, it was Augustinian, it was Aristotelian. I talk about mental masturbation sometimes on this channel. That's what they did. They mentally masturbated to Aristotle. They were not Bible thumpers. They were not ignorant of philosophy and science. But we have this idea due to secularization. So that's the reason for the thumbnail today. Milton's idea of Lucifer is what everybody thinks. In fact, there's a Netflix show called, or I don't know if it's a Netflix original or if it was on TV, but it's called Lucifer, right? And people watch that and they think, I mean, they know it's a fictional show, but they think the general idea is based on theology, but it's not. The main guy, Lucifer, got kicked out of heaven because he has a purpose on earth, and like God is his dad, and he's got dad problems, and otherwise Lucifer's just trying to do the best thing, and he's a Pelagian, and we all have total free will. That's not what the New Testament teaches. That's not what the early church taught. So that is the secularization. It's not that, I at least don't think that the Catholic Church straight up secularized, but rather the secular orders forced that upon them, pushed their relevancy to the side, and now people don't have an understanding of what the proper teachings were. So even if you aren't Catholic, you have to admit what people think Catholicism is not what it actually is. And that's one of the things. Now, I'm talking about Catholicism the most because this most poignantly attacked the West. I say the East went under communism. That's true. But as I've pointed out many times, communism just got rid of the church. That was it. It didn't, over 200 years, 300 years, it didn't chip away at the ideas and morph the church into something else. It just straight up said, you had your medieval orthodoxy, now it's gone. Now it's done. You're not going to do it anymore. That's it. I mean, they didn't even have time to alter Christ, to change who he was. It was just like, yeah, you're done. You're done with your medieval Catholicism. You're done with your medieval orthodoxy. I say Catholicism as well because of Catholics in Eastern Europe that would go under the Iron Curtain. Like, you're just done. You're done with that. No more middle-aged religion for you guys. Oh, okay. That's it. Nothing we can say about that. Now, part of the reason that I think the West was unique in this endeavor, and people say, racist people say, like, oh, it's an IQ thing. Western Europeans are the only smart people. They're so smart that they ended up becoming atheists, apparently, and ruined their civilization. So I don't see how that argument works. But what they did do was, because Western Europe, for most of history, was the most geographically dense populace in the world, other than like India and China. So Western Europe was way more dense than North Africa and most of the Middle East, more dense than Eastern Europe. And because everybody lived in these little like mountain areas, they were segregated so they could have different languages and stuff, but they were still very close. And so different ideas kept bouncing off of one another. And this overindulgence in philosophy is what killed the Western spirit. So the West started to destroy Christianity way before secularism comes. They started that path long before. They started it before Rousseau. Okay, so you had the scholastic Aristotelianism of the Middle-Age Catholic Church, was then resisted by a revival of Platonism, which also was resisted again by the Enlightenment, and then again by the total Renaissance itself. So we went through 3 layers of philosophy, moving further and further away from the church that actually built Western Europe. So even in the 1700s, you can't say people are actually doing proper Catholicism. Like the lay people were. But the main philosophical influences in the world, in the Western world, was not the Roman Catholic Church anymore. It was, you had the Catholics, then you had the secularists, all kinds of Renaissance figures, then you had the reformers. Like the West was not just like, boom, Catholic until 1960. If you think history started in 1960, you're going to have a bad time. So all these things that came to pass, even pacifism, like people say, oh, it's the Catholic Church, the Latins are totally pacifistic. No, they're not. If you read the early Latin fathers, they're the ones saying we have to have just war sometimes. The Greek fathers don't mention it that much. The Latin fathers do. Say, we need to have just war. There needs to be times where, yeah, okay, we want to have a loving world, but like the Huns are coming after us and they're a false religion. We got to be able to go in and take those guys out for the betterment of society. And so they came up with that idea of the just war. These are pre-schism Latin saints, of course. And many of the Latin fathers and saints have nothing good to say about other religions. They attack Hellenism, they attack Sol Invictus, they attack Judaism, they attack Judaizers, they attack, Docetists, and all kinds of heretical groups. They attack the Arians. Think they're nice to the Arians, like read St. Athanasius's Discourse. So that was never there in the early church. Then you even get into the medieval church, and the atheists are right about one thing. The Catholics did run around destroying false religions and forcing people to be Catholic. That is part of history. So you can't say that Catholicism, historically, what it used to be, is a pacifistic religion. It's not. Nobody teaches that in the religion. What they say is love your brother, love your fellow Christian, be a loving person, be patient, and be civil if you're in a country of foreigners. It never says do idolatry or tolerate idolatry. It never says respect other religions. It doesn't say that. It just says the Muslims, who for the most part don't live in our lands, they probably, well, that's what they say in Catholicism. They worship the same God. It doesn't mean, oh, my Muslim neighbor, his religion is totally perfect. That's not what the Catholic Church taught. What they taught was these guys who live somewhere else have this Abrahamic generic God. Doesn't mean they have a good religion. I have a Roman missal from 1962 that straight up doesn't even use the word Islam or Muslim. It calls them Mohammedans. It says Ignatius of Loyola was righteous for establishing the Jesuit Society of Jesus, of course, to take down Islam and Protestantism. Like this was in the 60s, man. So this pacifistic church thing is really, really new. But because of social media, 99% of all media you've consumed has been made in the last 15 years. You don't see stuff from 40, 50 years ago. So, oh, it's not that long ago. Yeah, it's not that long ago. But the world was really different 50, 60 years ago. And the Catholic Church of 60 years ago is really a lot different than the Catholic Church of today. So that's the pacifism is one of them, of course. And there's a myriad of other issues I talked about. I just think that, the secularism took many centuries. We're going to read some comments now. I think I've been blathering for 10 minutes. Let's see what we've got. Hello. Some dude from the Philippines. Where are the celestial beings exiled from? From heaven. That's where they would be exiled from. That's the teaching, of course. Paradise Lost, Christology is Arian. Yeah, like John Milton's this dude that, oh, I'm Puritan, I'm an extreme Protestant, and then makes some fan fiction that like every atheist high schooler loves. Yeah, guys, stop talking about Sam Shamoon. Like, this is not his channel. This is my channel. Let's move on. Wallah, Jim, people actually think esoteric media about Lucifer being a misunderstood freedom fighter is canon, and that they found secret knowledges from white guy shows or animes. Yeah, I suppose that would be true. Conservatives in the West think history started in the 50s. Yeah, obviously, I've done Two Hooks and everybody else. I've done a whole plethora on how the 50s is not really tradition. Even the 1800s is not tradition. The church was horrible. Citation needed. But ad hominem does not affect anyone with a certain position. Yeah, okay, when did I use an ad hominem? I don't understand what you guys are talking about. How should we approach the role of the Serbian church in the 90s? Obviously, Christianity was never pacifist. These guys wars were ethnically based. Yeah, thing to do with the religion. Okay, so if there's an ethnic war, let me make this point really clear for everybody. People going to war who happen to be Christian does not make something a Christian war. World War II was not a Christian war, right? Rudolf Hegler and the Yazidis were not Christians. They mocked it. They didn't like it. It was the majority religion in their country, so they had to obey it to a degree. And yeah, there's a lot of material about the certain mustache guy being in league with Jesuits, etc. But they didn't really like real Christianity. They weren't really up to doing Christianity. And the Soviets were clearly atheists. So it was ethnically based in World War II, but also ideological. All right. The German party got its idea from Platonic utopianism and Nietzsche's will to power, which had a very strong racial Darwinist undertone. And then the Soviets were not really will to power, but they were Hegelian dialectic, which people overuse that word. It's really just Hegelian offshoot of Neoplatonism, I guess, plus utopian stuff, plus anti-capitalism. I mean, this stuff has nothing to do with God. So I'm just going to say any Balkan or Middle Eastern wars about race, it doesn't matter if the people fighting it were Christians or Muslims. It doesn't matter. So guys, you have to be fair. You have to be consistent about that. If you're going to say, oh, well, the Serbian Croat stuff was not Christian, then when Muslims do it too, you have to admit that's not an Islamic war. So there were Islamic wars fought by Muslims are not always Islamic wars. We have to be consistent about that. If the Turks do something racially, it does not always mean it's an Islamic thing, for example. Let's move on from that. Anti-Pope. Yeah, I don't know about that. If I were Catholic, I would not be a sedevacantist. Sorry. Father Joseph, good to see you. What I miss? You could rewind. Well, we're just talking about how over many centuries, the church, mainly the Latin church, was struck hard, and Protestantism, of course, struck hard by secularism. But it wasn't in one day, and it wasn't really the churches that did it, but the secularists that did it. Okay, let's continue. Oh, well, either way, I mean, whether you're talking about slick will here, or you're talking about the Serbs themselves, it doesn't matter. Just because if some Orthodox guy goes to war, that doesn't make it an Orthodox war. A lot of Germans were Catholics. It wasn't a Catholic war against Soviet ape religion. But I understand what you're saying. Jim's videos on Levantine diaspora is pretty good and touches this subject. This Lebanese civil war is a demographic conflict beyond understanding. Yeah, it's really not religion. Like, I'm sorry, guys. Do you guys know anything about the Middle East? Because like everybody thinks the Middle East is literally just Islam, just a land of Islam. It's not, though. Like, there's a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with anything. A lot of Muslims join sides that have nothing to do with Islam. The Sunnis, at least the urban Sunnis, and the PLO Sunnis who came from Palestine and Jordan, it was not Islamic. Like Yasser Arafat, he said he never picked up the Quran. He read the Bible more because he wanted to prove stuff about the Yehudim being in Zionistan. I can't use those words, so I'm just using code words here. He just sat around reading the Old Testament all day. He barely touched the Quran. He prayed publicly to look good. All the Sunnis who were on his side liked Pan-Arabism. All right, who's the father of Pan-Arabism? Gamal Abdel Nasser. What does Gamal Abdel Nasser say? He mocks people who say women have to be in the full niqab. He says, this is stupid. What kind of society are we? Why? Because he was a European, essentially. Okay, Gamal Abdel Nasser, all these guys, Bashar al-Assad or Hafez al-Assad, even Saddam Hussein, all these guys have European ideology. They're nationalists. They love their language. They love their race. Islam happens to be part of that. See, that's that secular dialectic that I told you about. Religion becomes a part of a people. It doesn't become the main thing. Okay? So anyway, Lebanese civil war was about communism and capitalism and nationalism, not about religion. The Germans were Theosophists, an Anglo import. See Houston Stewart Chamberlain for evidence of these early overtures. I will read Mr. Chamberlain. Never heard that name before in my life, so that's definitely a topic I'll have to check out. Jim, what is Yo denomination? Orthodoxy. In Canada, we have a problem. We are in Church of Canada letting atheist pastors. No, man, I've told you before, you cannot say that. Adewolf Heigler, again, careful with the names here. These guys just saying, oh, I was born Catholic, therefore my war is Catholic. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. So you cannot say that the German Socialist Party was Catholic. It wasn't Catholic. I don't understand that. Yeah, I know, but you do realize there are people who are part of the Muslim Brotherhood that aren't that religious. Like that, this is not today's Ikhwan, okay? Back in the 80s and the 70s, they were just another commie group. They were weaker than the communists. They did whatever the communists wanted them to do, the Pan-Arab and the communists. And I'm not anti like Arab identity. I just think Pan-Arabism is stupid. All right. Because it doesn't make sense. It's a secular thing. Like it's gonna fail. It's gonna fail no matter what. All right, how good / terrible relation between the Orthodox and Maronites? They're not bad. They're not bad. Like I don't know why people think it's a big deal. So with the Orthodox and the Maronites, in the 20s and in the 1800s, they didn't like each other that much. Today they like each other. Back then they didn't. The Orthodox, actually all the Rum, so Orthodox and Melkite Catholics didn't really want Lebanon to be created. Like yeah, they didn't like big Syria either, but they didn't want the plan of greater Lebanon in the 20s to be established, because the Orthodox felt that they weren't part of this little enclave in Mount Lebanon. They thought they were part of this wider Levant thing. They wanted to be in the same country as the Orthodox Jordanians and Syrians. So there's like 600,000 Christians in Jordan. A lot of them are Orthodox. They wanted to be with them. They wanted to be with Palestinian Orthodox, Syrian Orthodox, about 1 million or so, maybe less after the war, maybe 900,000, 800,000 today. There used to be almost 2 million. They wanted to be in the same country. So when the Lebanese said no, or the Maronites said, we're going to make this country called Lebanon, the Orthodox said, okay, can we at least get some stuff in the coast, Wadi al-Nasara, where there's many majority Orthodox Christian villages, and they chose not to take that land. So the Orthodox went from, yeah, they're always going to be a minority anyway, but they went from being connected to all their Orthodox brethren to now being in a country that's like barely 50% Christian, where Maronites have all the power and the Muslim population is not going anywhere. So they had a major problem with that. Some Orthodox fought on the side of the neutrals, some fought on the Muslims. Most of them fought on the side of the Maronites during the Civil War. But that's kind of an overture of it. It's different today, but in that time period, the Orthodox did not like the way Lebanon turned out. And in the 1800s, if you read The Druzes and the Maronites by Captain Charles Churchill, he says that a lot of times when the Maronites would go to war with the Druze, the Orthodox always stayed out of it. So they didn't see themselves as like, oh, our fellow Christian brothers, we're going to go crusade these Druze guys. They didn't see it like that. The Orthodox said, we're Orthodox, they're a different sect, what they do has nothing to do with anything, and we don't want to get on the wrong side of the Muslim world that's around us, essentially. All right, we'll get back on the topic now. It's not going to be a super long stream, just wanted to chill out, see how you guys are doing. Do a little stream here. What's the difference between baptism versus chrismation? So chrismation is what you do when you're converting from, let's say, Catholicism to Orthodoxy, and the church says you're not going to be rebaptized, you're going to be chrismed with the oil, and that's your conversion, because your Catholic conversion or baptism is considered valid. So they don't always do a baptism. Why are you streaming at midnight? I was busy today, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I'm busy. I had to swim. I had a really mediocre dinner, being honest. All right, let's get back to the topic. We got all manner of bizarre questions here, such as the time of day and Maronite stuff. On the topic of the Maronites, though, let's keep it on secularism in the church. On the topic of Maronites, they were hit hard by this. I talk about this in my book. All right, Arab Christians and other Middle Eastern Christians got hit hard by the secularism of Europe, because they identified with Europe. Like, they didn't say, oh, we was white people or whatever, but they did identify. So like the Lebanese Maronites, they thought very highly of France. The Orthodox thought highly of Greece and Russia. Okay, the Orientals thought, well, they kind of thought highly of themselves, but they also respected Europe. They respected Russia and other places. So when Europe became very secularized, it impacted the Christians in the Middle East, because over time, Christianity went from being, I mean, let's be honest, normal Christianity is a fanatical religion. Fanaticism does not always mean violence or anything, but it is fanatically a demanding religion. Like you cannot be a Christian and a secular person at the same time. It doesn't work. One, you cannot have two masters, okay? Either you serve God or you serve mammon. That's what Christ says. You cannot have. You're going to serve one and neglect the other. That describes the entire position. You cannot be a secular Christian. You don't have to be a insane lunatic, You don't have to try to destroy everybody, but you cannot be secular and Christian. But now people are. And so the Lebanese and the Syrian Christians got afflicted by the European ideologies, and that's why the Maronites, their main contention wasn't just we're Christians, we want to have a nation where we can sit around praying the rosary. It had nothing to do with liturgical stuff. It was, we are our own people, we don't want to be with these people. It's very European ideology. This is my people, I don't want to be with those people. You know, and that's why the Maronites identified with Western capitalism, but the Pan-Arabists identified with the Soviets more. They weren't atheists, but they thought the Soviets were on the right side of history. Womp. Either way, it afflicted everybody, but the Christians particularly got hit hard, which is why I wrote that part of my book. I saw my own people are believing in a fake 1800s Renaissance Enlightenment version of Catholicism and not what the Christianity originally was. I mean, even in the mid-1800s, the Maronites were still acting like tribal sheikhs. Like they were running around in their own little fiefdoms, burning people's villages and declaring jihad. But then, as the European element became a lot stronger at the turn of the century, they definitely turned into, for all intents and purposes, Europeanized Christians. And so I've been trying to course correct that with my material. I've been trying to teach people, like, again, it's I'm not saying anything that's not Christian. I'm just, whatever you think Christianity is, this, we Christians aren't extreme. We're not extreme people. That's a Muslim thing. That's not true. That's not true at all. Christians are extreme. It's a different kind, but we're still extreme. So that's what I've been trying to elucidate. That's been the main contention. So that's bridging the original topic of secularism in Europe with now people have brought up Lebanon a lot. There you go. For fairness, the Egyptians, at least in the rural areas, have not really come under that spell. They never got hit as hard by European ideology. So urban Egyptians and diaspora, yeah. But Egyptian Christians living in like the middle of nowhere, they're pretty much untouched by time. So that's kind of interesting. As are Ethiopian Christians, the Tawahedo Oriental Church and the Catholic Tawahedo Church as well. Or Ge'ez, right, whatever it is. So that's my contention on those issues. I think we've wrapped a lot of that up. If you want more material on my issues of secularism, you can check out Why the West Died, Why It Will Remain Dead, Foundations of the Modern World with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and I've done a whole plethora of stuff on atheism. Let's see some of the comments here. Thank you very much, Rachel. Yeah, guys, like you gotta actually like the video. Otherwise, YouTube thinks it's garb. Right? Gene, your videos suck. All right, Gene, people watch them, but they suck. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, Maronites are Catholic. Like I'm obviously saying they are Catholic. Tim Tapp, it's better. I don't know if it's much better, but it's better. As you can see, I'm sitting. I don't have to stand during this one. So yeah, it's doing a lot better. It's doing a lot better. Let's see. A lot of Arab Christians use Christianity as a form of desperation to be seen as white sometimes, kind of why Maronites do the Phoenician thing, or Syrians want to be white. Well, in fairness, the Phoenicians were kind of cool. Like it would be foolish for Lebanese to not take pride in that. But I don't understand why that means now we can't be proud of an Arab identity either. I think Egypt did it fine. Like Egyptians are Arabs, but they're proud of their pharaoh days. I think the Lebanese should admit, okay, we're Arabs and we have cool Phoenician days. Like, why does it have to be either or? Problem is, in the 1900s, that became an identity issue. And I think there's not enough in Phoenician history that we have today to say, yeah, we can revive this. Like, nobody speaks it, and all the cultural stuff we do is pretty much Arab or local pan-Levantine stuff. And then local Mount Lebanon stuff that's Christian has nothing to do with Phoenicians. So that's my point on that. Yeah, I know, man. I did talk about the Maronites in France. Let's continue. There are many. No, there are not many. What you mean is there are many families with a Crusader name, but that doesn't mean they are all actually European. It means one guy or one woman married a Crusader like 900 years ago, and the last name got Arabicized, like Frangier. Okay, that's all it means. They're still 99% Levantine people. This one dude happened to have a European last name. Lukewarm Christian. Jesus doesn't want you to change, and you don't go to hell. If that's true, what would differ the action of the atheist Christian? Well, yeah, I mean, as we've covered, the New Testament's a pretty extreme book. You can't half ball it. You got to go all in, and you've got to really do the faith properly. Saint Constantine, wow, the saint himself has reached the resurrection early. He came here to give me a super chat. Thank you very much for the super chat. Cool icon, cool name, and yeah, thank you very much for that. Yeah, I know you can't actually say you're a full-on Phoenician unless you're doing some of that weird stuff. Okay, Virginia Lou, I don't know what this is. I don't have a door. There's a glass window door. I'm not even in my own home right now. I'm in an office. I'm in a midnight office. All right, two hooks. I read. Oh, this boy read. Did you read or did you find on the internet? I have to ask. I read that the Orthodox and Melkite Lebanese are from the Ghassanids. No, they're not all from the Ghassanids. I'm Armenian Lebanese, but I'm kind of related to the Jamails by relatives marriage, Lodovids. So, no, this Ghassanid thing gets overdone by a lot of people. In case anyone didn't know, Banu Ghassan, so the Ghassanids, are an Arabian tribe originally from Yemen, who migrated up to northern Arabia. They converted to Oriental Orthodox Christianity, and then over many centuries they splintered into different sects. There are quite a few Orthodox and Melkites who can claim that they have that ancestry. I do, but most people cannot say that. Like, you can't just go, oh, I'm an Arab Christian, therefore I'm a Ghassanid. Like, you have to have a way to link it back. I have family that's still in the Arabian Peninsula. I have family in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, a little in Kuwait. I think there's a couple in Kuwait. And so, like, I have family in Jordan and Palestine as well. Palestine. Man, I can't believe I said that. Now my video is going to be flagged. But Palestine, Jordan, and the Arabian Peninsula. So I actually still have some family down there, very, very distantly related. But you can't just go up to someone who's Orthodox and go, oh, you're a Ghassanid. Like, not everybody is. There are Maronites who have Arabian DNA, actually. Like, the Maronites are the ones who are the most vocal about not being Arab, but there are some with Arabian DNA. I have a friend from Kuwait. He's a Bedouin, comes from Bedouin family. And he told me he did research into the tribal ancestral links and says the Jamail clan actually was an Arabian Christian clan originally that partook in some of the chaos of the 700s and then just settled in the Bekaa Valley. I'm going to need him to actually show me the paperwork for that, but it would be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. All right. I mean, didn't Simon Cathedral... Well, here's the thing, though. If you bring that up, people are going to say, well, Jesus rebuked him. But my response to this would be, Jesus rebukes Peter all the time because Peter cut off the ear for the wrong reason. Peter thought Jesus is not powerful enough to defend himself. And Jesus should not be crucified. That's why Peter did that. So when Christ rebukes him, it's not like, oh, you can never attack people that are coming to slaughter you. You can, but Peter should not have done it because he doubted the Lord. He said many times, earlier in the gospel, he says, don't let them take you away. It's not right for you to die. And Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. So this is repeated in the garden. So just to let you know. Jesus says, I've come not to bring peace, but a sword. You should sell your cloak. That means a shirt off your back and go and buy a sword. And of course, Christ is very brutal to all the idolaters in the New Testament. And if you read a Roman missal, like this is a Roman Catholic missal, this is as non-Orthodox as you could possibly be, they will still argue quite clearly that, people who do heresy and idolatry are going to be destroyed by God. I mean, that's not nice stuff. That's not nice stuff, no matter how you slice it. Okay, Virginia, Lou, I don't know what your problem is. I'm not some kind of a glow or whatever. I just don't understand. Yeah. I don't understand what this person's all about. Actually, guess what? You've now been banned. So you can get out of here. Don't insult me like that. All right. I have mixed DNA from Middle East, Europe, North Africa. All right, guys, I'm going to close the stream in a minute. I think we covered all the stuff pretty quickly. This was a kind of a last minute one. It's real late, so I'm not going to do a 1.5 hour long stream. Rachel, good to know that you have also dealt with these lunatics. I'm sure you guys get way more than I do. So Sometimes you just gotta block. No, I don't think. Well, whatever. We'll talk about crusades another time. Ortho James, thoughts on Adam Green? Is there hope for him based on the conversation? He's still as hard-headed as he's always been. Of course, everyone still has a chance, but just off the debate. Off the debate, I'd say he's more hard-headed than ever. He didn't seem as like angry. I thought it was a good debate. He wasn't that angry, but I just don't think he has the heart to open up to and be responsive to any of this stuff. Sometimes it says in the Bible that people have a hardened heart. So it doesn't matter. You could literally walk up to them and give them the sign, give them the miracle. They still wouldn't believe it. They say, "Oh, it's a Yehudi trick." They wouldn't believe it. So it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So I would just say bide time, wait, and some people will, some people won't change. It's not really in my hand. And it's not in your hand. So yeah. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to call it. It's late. And again, Giga Chat, I have no idea what. I mean, they're getting that stuff from like Most Holy Family Monastery. If I were a Roman Catholic, I would not be a seat of contest. All right. Thank you guys for the late night stream. Awesome for you guys to come by. This was kind of a vague topic. I'm happy we did it either way. Good education material for anybody not familiar with it. And to recap for somebody just coming in and to kind of end the video on a high note. The topic du jour was the secularization of Christianity. I used a wallpaper of John Milton's Paradise Lost to illustrate the fact that what you think you know about Lucifer, Satan, etc. comes from fan fiction. It's not from the church teaching. What you think you know about sin and free will comes from fan fiction. It's not the church teaching. What you think Catholicism is, more relevant to them than to the Orthodox, is again not the church teaching. It's Renaissance philosophy ideas and secular ideas and Masonry implanted onto the church, and the church was pushed to the side, at least in the West. In the East, it was basically like you had church up until the 1900s, then gone, and now it's slowly making its way back. In any event, that was the main contention. Then we spoke about Lebanon, the import of European ideologies, some weird political topics, and then how that related to Christians from the Middle East and how they had become secularized as well. So that is the main topic du jour. If you want to check out my other videos relating to this one, check out my stream on Foundations of the Modern World with Jean-Jacques Rousseau, why the West died and why it will remain dead. And if you really are having an issue with atheism, check out Atheism Does Not Exist in the West. Those are all my previous streams. I'll do another one this week. Okay, last comments are, thanks for the stream. Thank you, Jeem. Thanks, Jeem. Great stuff, Jeem. That's me. I just came in. Quality stream. If you just came in, go back and watch the rest of it. At Jeem, says Rachel, where shall I contact you? You can just, if you use Discord, I'm in the Crucible Discord, if you're on it. If you're not on it, X/Twitter, I believe we DM'd there before. You can just send me another message on there. That would be good. And you say, I would love to have you on my channel. I forget doing a bunch of big shows, and there's eyeballs on it. Okay, that's awesome. I'm game for that. Yeah, just hit me up on Twitter or the Discord. Crucible, I'm on the Crucible Discord. All right, see you guys. Christ is risen indeed, and that's about it.